Hello and sunny Bonani, 7:34 Central African Time, which could only mean one thing. It's a Thursday night. It's the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. If you've just joined us, welcome. Looking forward to a thoroughly entertaining race. That has certainly been the case in Tier 2 yesterday, where the debutante, that being Don Ravico, absolutely tore it up. He lit it up, and he made his presence in the second tier of Breakaway League Racing keenly felt. Of course, some news regarding drivers in the Breakaway Racing League stable. The shift, or rather the move of Lunds from the top tier down to the second tier, means that the leading driver in Tier 2, as far as the current point standings were concerned, that was Fence 360, he gets promoted up to Tier 1. Now, as things stand, he is not yet available in this year's session. We do hope that we could see Fence on track, perhaps from 8 o'clock onwards. That would, of course, mean that he would not be able to take part in the qualifying session. But as things stand, it doesn't, of course, look like anywhere near a full house of qualifiers here. So this is a great opportunity for all of these guys to stake their claim to go through comfortably through to Q2, where things could possibly be a little more challenging as far as securing your spot in Q3 and that shootout for pole position is concerned. It's a full qualifying session, so all these drivers have 18 minutes in this first quali, Q1. We'll then move on to Q2, and if more than 15 drivers join this session, then only, of course, 15 would be allowed to take part in Q2. And Q3 is the big one, where we then see who will get that that pole position rather, and start this race in Italy, in Monza, at the top of the grid. Aim of the game, if you're brand new to qualifying, if you're brand new to Formula One, you've just have to set your quickest time, and that will then put you higher on in the standings, and that'll minimize your chance of getting eliminated in each qualifying session. Who is here? Mandla, aka Romeo, he's here. On behalf of Alfa Romeo. His teammate Josh, aka Damnesia, is also here, qualifying in Monza. Tabo T92 is new to this top tier of the Breakaway Racing League, so it's good to see him representing Red Bull. His brand new teammate, of course, with Lunds's shift, his teammate will be Fence, making it an all-rookie lineup in Team Red Bull. And that's going to be fascinating to watch as the season progresses. Ban Kobe scored points in Australia last time out. Sadly, the race in Abu Dhabi had to be cancelled for the top tier owing to glitch issues. So we weren't able to see whether or not Ban Kobe was able to translate a very solid qualifying showing in Abu Dhabi to decent points. We'll see how he fares. Josh, aka Damnesia, 0 points this season. His teammate Mandla, that being Romeo, finished 9th in Baku in the first race of the season. So, still a lot to play for as far as Mandla and Josh are concerned. Donathan Laka is always an interesting presence, a superbly talented Ferrari driver whose teammate Brown Boy we have yet to see this entire season. What is happening with Brown Boy? Well, he's losing opportunities to gain points here. Of course, this being race 4, Brown Boy will be lucky that the third race in Abu Dhabi will be raced again, owing to the glitch last time out. So, he has another stab at gaining possible points. The King Rapture is here. His teammate, of course, being none other than Mello the Mello, who showed his class back in Australia, claiming that oh-so memorable podium. What a beautiful end to that race it was. Mex and Capoza, the McLaren duo. Sadly, it seems like Capoza is having network issues. He keeps dipping in and out of the lobby, so hopefully those could be sorted out. Meanwhile, Zotile, whose teammate and Nebo is nowhere to be seen thus far, he is now making his way. He's just exited Lesmo, and he's heading towards the Ascari Benz right here. If you look at the way that Zotal takes that, tries to carry as much speed and was fifth gear through Ascari for Zotal, while none other than the championship leader, Ciclay, is already out on track doing his thing. One of only 3 drivers out on track. Ciclay is already past that first chicane. Primera variante, as they say in Italy, or in Italian. Cepiso says the weather is not looking good. He could be speaking about Johannesburg, or he could indeed be speaking about the weather situation in Monza. We will, of course, get a clear sense of how that will play out. Meanwhile, let's hop on board with none other than Zotal, a man who's already tasted the podium once this season. What a good day it was for the Alpine driver. Look how tight he hugs the line towards the right. Here he comes now towards the first chicane of the track. Caboza is back in the lobby, a bit wide on the exit of that chicane into Lesmo. 1 comes Zotal, gear 5, easy on the throttle, up to 6, and he'll take the second part of Lesmo down in 5th gear. Of course, watch out for that corner. A lot of drivers tend to go wide on the exit of that corner, which was turn 7. Under the tunnel goes Zotal, screaming towards Ascari. Here comes that beautiful metallic blue Alpine, and it looks like it's an incident-free lap for Zotal. 7th gear down towards the Parabolica. Ciclay sets a 121.194. No playing around for the 3-time champion. Well, good start for him. What will Zotal do? Looking to match the champion. Zotal will be second across the line for Team Alpine. Here he comes. It is a 121.522. He tucks straight into P2. That's Zotal's effort. Meanwhile, it seems like both of the Alfa Romeos are currently on their out laps. So instead, we will catch up with the King Rapture, who is the only other driver currently on a push lap. Notably, though, he's opted for a set of medium compound tires. He's not feeling the pressure to waste his soft tire compounds as things stand. Might have had a little bit of a moment coming through Ascari there, but he manages to keep it together now. He keeps it pointed straight towards the Parabolica, trying to carry as much speed as possible. Not the easiest of corners. It doesn't look like a very tight or not a very slow corner, so he tries to carry as much speed as possible as Caboza dips out of the session once again. This is King Rapture for Team Williams. P3 it is on a set of medium compound tires, 122.993. He might just be okay with that effort. Let us then see how things are going with one of the Alfa Romeos. Romeo seems to be a little bit further back than his teammate. No, Damnesia is definitely not on a push lap as things stand. So let's see how it'll fare with Romeo. A couple of cars currently on their out laps as things stand. Here comes Romeo now through Ascari, trying to carry all of that speed through towards that famous Parabolica corner, which is in fact turn 11 on this fastest track of the calendar. Josh, aka Damnesia, on a push lap has crashed out. Josh is out of the session. Mandla bears the brunt of responsibility to pretty much carry Alfa Romeo throughout the rest of this quality session. 121.6 puts him in P3. His teammate is out of the session. Well. The pressure telling, as Mandla has a huge spin on his in-lap, trying to make his way back into the reckoning. Now, Tabo T92 is on the main straight. He's next across the line. No, he's only beginning his attempt, so we're going to catch up with him a little bit later. Instead, we will then jump towards Ngawako D-Wax, who has just crossed the line to pick the King Rapture, and he tucks behind Mandla by just a thousandth of a second. Look how close he is to that time that Mandla put in. 121.682 is just so marginally close to Mandla's effort. So, back to Don Lacca for Team Ferrari, the Scuderia. It's his home race out here in Italy, feeling comfortable, feeling the love. He can see the Italian flags. He can see the red, pretty much, playing a main part as far as the colors on the grandstands are concerned. But he will be primarily concerned with making it through Parabolica unscathed, and he does. Now, towards the line, Don Lacca, 121.9, medium tires. It's P5 for the Ferrari driver at his home race. looking fairly okay. Here comes Mandla, who is making his way back into the pits, it must be said. Meanwhile, Tabo T92, how will he fare? It looked from the one camera angle that is the rear end of the car might have been getting lost, but as I say that, he's looking sensational. 120.904, the first driver to breach that barrier and go into the 1 minute 20s. Q1, and already we have a time in the 1 minute 20s. Tabo T92 take a bow at the home of the Scuderia Ferrari.
Oh no, Taba got yes, it's 120.9. What's that? Speed is got top. Oh no, push it like this was push it. Push it top.
Yes, he did push indeed. He did push. Tapiso says hopefully he can join and catch this race from the back of the pack. So we will look out for Tapiso once the race begins in earnest. If you've just joined us, hello, Danny Bonanni, welcome. We're in Italy, Monza, for the Italian Grand Prix, and Tabo T92 is the man to beat. He's the quickest man on track by some distance. And, behind him is Mex, who is currently making his way through Lesmo 1. Watch that exit on the second part of Lesmo, which is turn 7. Sometimes drivers can go wide. No such issues for Mex. He's out the first set of medium compound tires, saving his tire compound, of course. He wants to use up those softs way later in Q2 and Q3. But right now he knows that there's very little pressure with the likes of Damnesia crashing out. He just needs to set a time. He just needs to have his banker lap, does Mex, and then it'll all be pretty much settled as far as his progression is concerned towards Q2. Someone who's on the verge of crossing the line is none other than the newbie to the top tier, Smirch Django, and as I say that, he crosses the line to smash Tabo's time. It's a 120.681 in Q1. Well, we are going to have some fun in Q3 if all these guys can make it through, I'll tell you that. Django, Tabo T92, breaching that 1 minute 20 second barrier. Meanwhile, Mex crossed the line with a 122.5 on those medium tires. And, one of the Alpha tires is making a way back into the pit lane. There's a Red Bull on the verge. It is S. Buddha. He is wingless. And he's going for it. S. Buddha losing a wing on his outlap, but he still seems to be pushing. I wonder how hard he will actually go towards the end of that. Let's catch up with Ban Kobe, meanwhile, making his way now towards Parabolica. 113, 114, what'll it be? Will you breach that 1 minute 20 second barrier? It's going to be tight. Ban Kobe is not going to do a 120 instead. It's a 22.1 and P8 on that brand new set of soft compound tires. Ban Kobe got his work cut out for him. Let's see how he fares on the rest of his push here. Now, S. Buddha is wingless. His best effort thus far at 135.7. Perhaps he's just happy to set his banker lap, and he'll bring his wingless car back into the pits, but we'll see how he fares for the rest of this session. Hello, Sonny Bonanni, if you've just joined us 5 minutes to go in Q1, Smirch Django tops the timesheets on that scorcher, 120.6 on those soft compound tires. Tabo T92, notably, 120.904. He has just fitted those medium compound tires, has Tabo, so he did set that scorcher on a set of soft compound tires, to our understanding. Hopefully Caboza can sort out his network issues while we watch the likes of Loveness navigate his lap. Turn 1, turn 2, primera variante, as they say in Italy. Oh, and Loveness sends it straight into the wall, and he becomes the second driver to crash out of the session, joining the likes of Josh, aka Damnesia. Look at that suspension, absolutely wrecked is the Haas of Loveness, and he will be kicking himself, shaking his head, getting that helmet off. And, the Haas team has got its work cut out to make sure that that Haas is ready for battle once this race begins. Loveness putting himself out of contention before we get too far ahead of ourselves, meaning that the only driver currently running is the King Rapture, making his way out of Lesmo, turn 7. You just saw how tricky it can be just to keep that car intact and make sure not to lose that rear end. Let's catch up now with Caboza. Network issues have been giving him the runaround, but now he's given it a proper go, a proper push on a set of medium compound tires, also looking to save his softs. for Q2 and 3 when the pressure ratchets up and he's at risk of getting knocked out. Right now, though, it's a 21.7 on those softs. Not too bad, but P7 for the McLaren driver. King Rapture, giving it another go, crosses the line. His best thus far is a 122.348, which did put him in P10, atop on board now with the Williams driver. Very pacey is the King Rapture, but in some of the initial races, some of the mistakes at the start of his races from time to time, he can't be overzealous, and that does cost him. So he will just look to keep it clean, keep it careful. Let's see now how he fares through this chicane. It doesn't look like he's given it a proper push. Well, yeah, through Lesmo 1, no issues for Rapture, but such a huge risk there of losing the rear end. Let's see how he fares now coming through. He will go underneath the tunnel towards Ascari. He's going about 3 seconds slower than his previous best time, so he might just be doing a practice set of runs here and not pushing himself to the absolute limit. Perhaps he didn't get enough time in the simulator before race day, and he's just using Q1 and possibly a little bit of Q2 just to get a feel of this racetrack and to see how it feels. So we'll catch up with Rapture a little bit later to see how he fares. Someone who seems to have had an issue through Lesmo, or he's moving very slowly through turn 6 into turn 7, is Ingo Wacko, aka D-Wax. Yeah, he's really, really easing these soft compound tires into their best working window. Yeah, so Ingo Wacko not pushing at all here. Let's catch up with some of your comments. Overtake with Seppo says, load shedding coming back on in 10 minutes. I'm going to start from the back. Well, hopefully we will see you on track. How many of us are starting from the back, asks Mello the Mello. So we can expect to see Malusi on track, presumably with that comment. Let's go get him. I know Malusi enjoys his time around this track as well. Carries a lot of speed. And, in some simulator sessions, perhaps he might just run in aggressively low wing if we have dry weather especially. So we'll see how it fares there with Malusi the Malusi. And Gawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, coming to a complete stop here.
Angazi, maybe ufuna bamphonsele angazi ama-donut nyando or something. Angazi wayemile da. Ungakongaziwa umuntu avele apress i-break nje i-dead break. Uzoma kanjani lapha abantu bayirace, abantu babhizi bafuna ukugena.
Yes, and it's not clear why Ingawako stopped completely there. King Rapture opted to come back into the pits. Now Ingawako, aka D-Wax, is pushing. He's crossed the start-finish line, and here he comes now into turn 1. And it doesn't look like he's given it a proper go here. So, yeah, it definitely looks like Ingawako is also feeling his way around here. And with just less than 10 seconds of the session to go, he perhaps will just be happy to bring it back home slowly. So Smirch Django tops the time sheets in Q1. Tabo T92 went second quickest. 3-time champion Seakley third. Zotao fourth. Mandla is comfortably through Q2. P5 for him. And Gawako, who we're watching now, went sixth quickest. Kaboza dipping in and out of the session, dips back into the lobby, and we hope to see him in Q2. It's P7 currently for the McLaren driver. Don for Ferrari, home race. P8 is the best that he could do in Q1 on those set of medium compound tires. Ban Kobe also opted to save his softs. P9 for him. The King Rapture for Team Williams. P10. Max 11th. S Buddha 12th. And Josh, aka Damnesia, crashed out. So did Tato, aka Loveness. If you've just joined us, Sonny Bonanni, hello! Do wonder how the rest of this session will go. We're watching Ingawako nurse his AlphaTauri back into the pit lane here. And as soon as he does so, we will be moving swiftly on along. towards Q2. Sadly for Kaboza, it doesn't look like we will be seeing him in Q2 and beyond, owing to network issues. That is very, very unfortunate on race day. And of course, it could be very, very costly for Kaboza in the context of the championship. As I mentioned at the top of the stream, we have Fensei, who has now joined Tier 1. And I'm not sure whether or not we will see Fensei at 8 o'clock and beyond, and whether or not Fensei will be racing here. But Fensei replaces Lungs, who has since relinquished his seat, and Lungs will race in Tier 2 for the foreseeable future. And of course, Brakeaway waved goodbye recently to none other than former champion Titus, who's been such a fantastic presence in this league, and a driver who many have looked up to and who many have learned a lot from in, of course, the most respectable fashion. Look at that. A couple of drivers using 2 sets of tires, that being Ben Kobe, Esbuda, Django, and Tabo T92. So the top 2 drivers on this Q1 grid using 2 sets of tires, 2 sets of softs for Django. Very interesting already in the first qualifying session. So he's going to be under perhaps a little bit more pressure, will Django, to get it right early in Q2 so that it can save as many fresh, or that it can go completely fresh on his set of tires as, if he makes it through to Q2. Welcome to Monza by some margin, the quickest circuit on the calendar. Very high average speed through here. Circuit length is about 5.7 kilometers. It has a lap record of 121.046, held by Rubens Barrichello all the way back in 2004. Well, isn't that something? That, of course, is related to the real world lap record, and its first Grand Prix on the circuit was back in 1950. Man, oh man, oh man. 5.7 might sound like quite something as far as track length is concerned, but the average speed around here is really, really high, meaning, of course, that we get some absolutely beautiful overtaking opportunities, including on this year's stretch. And that run down towards turn 1 is a very popular overtaking opportunity. Of course, we've seen drivers come together, none more notably, at least in recent years, than Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton coming out of that initial chicane. And we're watching Mandela now make his way towards the second chicane, that being turns 4 and 5. And this corner is one to watch, both in the race and in Q2 and 3, because as they come out of turn 7, which is this corner, there's a very high tendency to go wide there. So it's definitely a place to possibly either A, invalidate, or just completely lose it and get a lap and cost yourself tenths of a second coming through there. So it's one to watch very, very carefully, and we will do exactly that as Mandela goes over the limits as far as track limits are concerned there. So we'll watch this time. We did not get to watch the champion on his Q1 attempt, but we did see how he lit it up in the beginning. This time, he will be the first to set his initial go. Let's see what it looks like. Monza on a hot lap from the perspective of none other than the champion. It is Cicle into turn 1. We want to see what those sector splits are looking like, and that exit out of the chicane is looking good, solid, and he absolutely punches it down towards Curva Grande, they call it around here. It is the long looping turn 3 down towards the first chicane. Sector 1 split of a 26.666 for the 3-time champion. Towards Lesmo 1, it's Cicle carrying as much speed as possible. 6th gear through Lesmo 1, and the second part of Lesmo for Cicle will be gear 5. He has exited turn 7 without incident. There's a yellow flag behind him. He will pay no mind, and he will go straight through the tunnel towards Ascari, carrying as much speed as possible. Sector 2 split of 53.889 seconds. That is the benchmark as things stand. Cicle, gear 6, coming out of Ascari. punching it straight down towards the Parabolica in that Mercedes W13. What would it be? Mandla is trying to hang on to the coattails of the Mercedes, trying to get a little bit of a slipstream and possibly a little bit of a tow to help his efforts. Seekley crosses with a 121.0. Mandla crosses the line, 121.1. So that slipstream did help Mandla. Beautiful effort from him. And here comes the King Rapture. No, it's not the King Rapture. Sorry, it's the Zotal who came back into the pits. One of the Red Bulls crosses the line. Cavill T92 back into the 120s. 120.906 for the Red Bull driver. Buddha, also in the Red Bull today, is 123.4. Let's go Mindlo, says Crash in the comment section. Ban Kobe invalidated his lap, so he's going to have to give it another go. And we'll see how he fares between now and the end of this Q2. King Rapture, meanwhile, is on his way to Parabolica. It's the third and final sector for King Rapture. Mandla loses it, he bins it. Mandla crashes out on his in-lap, seemingly. Mandla lost it coming out of turn 7, out of Lesmo 2. King Rapture crosses the line, 121.892, puts him up to Q3, rather to P3 as things stand. Mandla, squandering his opportunity to go through to Q3 here, has lost it coming out of turn 7. Django, meanwhile, had crossed the line with a 121.7, putting him up to P3 right behind his teammate. And Don Lacka has just crossed the line for his P5, 121.997 for the Ferrari driver thus far. And Gawako D-Wax was taking it easy at the end of that Q1 session. Right now, he's given it a push, but he's invalidated his current attempt. He currently sits P6 as Buddha set that time to go P7. And Max is currently out on track. Let's see how he fares. We'll also get a sense of whether or not the other Red Bulls are going to carry on. Mex has invalidated, so it's not a good day for Team McLaren thus far. Caboza beleaguered by network issues, and Mex having invalidated his initial attempt in Q2. Lots and lots yet to unfold in this second quali session. I cannot wait to see how it all pans out. Seaflay responding to the news that Mandla has crashed out of this session and indeed will take no further part in qualifying. It was Mandla on an in-lap after setting that scorching effort in the 121s, tucking right behind the champion, but Mandla could not keep it together to bring that car safely home, losing it coming out of turn 7. Lesmo 2, sadly, is, proved to be too much for Mandla, aka Romeo. We have just under 9 minutes of the session to go. If you've just joined us, we're almost all the way through Q2 here. And we're watching Ngawako, aka D-Wax. Is he sending it? 122.1, he knows is nowhere near fast enough to keep him safe. P6, he will not feel safe at all, but his Sector 1 split is still slower than the best that he's done, slower by about 1,000th of a second. So Ngawako is on the brink, he's on the edge, coming through Lesmo 1. Let's see whether or not turn 7 makes him come unstuck. No, he keeps it on the limit, didn't carry too much speed coming out of turn 7. Only now breaching into that 339 up to 343 before hitting the braking zone. His Sector 2 split was looking very good as far as his personal best is concerned. Let's see whether or not he can do well enough to make a significant improvement and challenge perhaps the likes of Rapture if it's going to be a good time. Maybe even Django if all goes absolutely swimmingly. Here he comes now through Parabolica, out of that final curve, down towards the line, and it's going to be 121.7. He improves by 4/10, P4. Well, and Ngawako D-Wax breathes a sigh of relief. P4, he may yet want to go again, this being Tier 1, where you pretty much can't guarantee anything. Well, he'll feel happy that he's breached that, but look at Zotal. Meanwhile, we were watching Ngawako. Zotal tears it up and sets a 120.819 for Team Alpine. Well, sensational effort by the Alpine driver, grinning from ear to ear as I'm sure he gets the word over the team radio that he's gone quickest by, almost a full 10th of a second from Tabo T92. A beautiful, beautiful effort from Zotao there. Let's catch up now with Ban Kobe, another invalidation. Has yet to set a time, comes back into the pits. What about Mex? Making his way now through the Parabolica. He had also invalidated his first attempt. He's still seemingly on that same set of soft compound tires, giving it a proper go. 121.9. No, this is actually the beginning of Mex's initial push. So we'll see how he fares. It looks like both of the Mercedes cars, or one of them, is out on track. No, they're both out on track. Django's giving it a proper push behind Mex. Behind Mex, and Cicle is currently on his out lap as well. Sector 1 split of 26.9 for the McLaren driver, coming through that second chicane of this track towards turn 6. How tight will he go towards that right-hand side? Trying to carry as much speed. It was gear 5 through turn 6, and turn 7, gear 5 as well. He manages to keep it tight and clean. He needs to get a decent banker lap so he doesn't have to worry towards the end of Q2 here, or at the very least he'll hope that his teammate might not be able to take part in the rest of this Q2, which will ease the pressure on Mex. But he came through with Scari unscathed, back on board with the McLaren driver Rico. He has just over 5 minutes to make his mark on this timing tower and guarantee a spot in the top 10 shootout. Q3 and that battle for pole position. Here comes the McLaren of Mex. 122.7 is only good enough for P9. Nowhere near safe is Mex as things stand. Meanwhile, Django, as things stand, has improved by half a second on his 121.708. So we could be seeing a time in the low 121s, or indeed, depending on how he pushes, he could breach into the 120s. The answer is the latter. 121.086 puts the Mercedes driver up to P3 ahead of his teammate, who was also on another push lap as things stand. It looks like the King Rapture is on the verge of completing another go. He has improved by 1.5 tenths up until this point. Will cross the line half a second quicker than his previous best. It's P5, 121.392. Will that be quick enough for the King Rapture to guarantee a spot in Q3? Ban Kobe has struggled to keep his car within track limits. Mex also struggled initially, but he did get that banker lap in. What about our champion now? He's improved by 2 tenths. Now making his way through with Scari, looking very, very good. The third and final sector for the 3-time champion. Cicle, with 3.5 minutes of this session to go, sends that W13 screaming towards the Parabolica. The final curve before pointing it onto the main straight. Here comes Cicle. It might just be a good one, you know. It will be a good one. 120.8 brings him up to P2. Zotao still top of the pops by a factor of a couple of hundredths of a second. Well, Zotao looking sensational out here in Italy. Beautiful, beautiful effort by Zotao. Let's catch up now with Ban Kobe, giving it a proper push. Oh, has a little bit of a twitch coming out of that initial chicane. It's now or never, Zotao. You have 3 minutes. He's on a fresh set of stock compound tires. Is the Aston Martin driver. He looked decent in qualifying, did Ban Kobe in Abu Dhabi. Let's see if he can carry that momentum through. A little bit slow into the chicane, went all the way down to second gear, coming through that chicane. Turn 6, no incidents for Ban Kobe. Turn 7, this is where it gets tricky. Risk of going wide, no issues for Ban Kobe, keeps it clean. Now down towards the tunnel, he will send it absolutely rushing, as perhaps Liddy thinks that the top 2 drivers are running 0-0 wings. Into Ascari comes Ban Kobe. He's on the limit. He's through in 5th gear, but he's unscathed. He can breathe a sigh of relief. He can breathe out, can Ban Kobe in his rush towards the Parabolica. Look at his top speed. It hits about 334 kilometers per hour before slamming the brakes a little bit. Down to gear 5, trying not to lose too much of that speed as he points it down towards the line. Ban Kobe goes P6 with a 121.573. Well, it could breathe a sigh of relief, can Ban Kobe. Team Aston Martin through. setting that banker lap, of course, so he can breathe easy about doing that at the very least. Let's catch up now with what some of you guys are saying in these comments. Man Ray says, my sympathy for Mandler crashing out. Had a. And of course, some reactions to that beautiful effort that Zotal had put in to go top of the pops. And Gawako D-Wax is on his outlap, but already going over the limit as far as track limits are concerned. Somebody who is on the verge of finishing he's on the verge of beginning another hot lap attempt. So it's Mex and Gawako and Ban Kobe currently out on track. And we're going to hop on board with Mex, who was on the brink here in P11, but it can't be seen as P10 since Mandela has been knocked out into the initial chicane. Malusi the Malusi says we can look forward to seeing him at least racing here because his power will be back shortly. Let's see how Mex will do in his attempt to shake up the tree a little bit. His Sector 1 split will be a 26.7. He goes almost 0.2 quicker than his previous best, so it's looking good thus far, but needs to keep it tight all the way through Sectors 2 and 3. Ooh, carrying so much speed through Turn 6. Turn 7, risk of going wide here. No issues for Mex. He's on the limit. He opens up that rear wing to get a couple of extra kilometers per hour worth of speed, courtesy of DRS. His Sector 2 split sees him at 54.043, which puts him at a net gain of about 0.6 from his previous best. So Mex looking very, very good, looking solid as he sends that McLaren screaming down towards the Parabolica now. If no one has taken the checkered flag thus far at the beginning of hot lap, it is pretty much the last chance saloon for Ngawako, aka D-Wax, because as it stands, Kaboza will be getting knocked out. Will Mex join Kaboza getting knocked out? The answer is no. P7 for the McLaren driver. You could breathe a sigh of relief. It's Q3 for Mex. Ngawako D-Wax doesn't have to improve as things stand because Dawn is already out of the reckoning, and Esbuda, it seems, will be the last driver to go through to Q3. Let's go Mex, says Nintendo Wii. He goes wide, does D-Wex coming out of the Parabolica, but at this point he might just be bringing it back into the pit lane, and he does exactly that. So, Zotal, the quickest person, the quickest driver, the quickest man on behalf of Team Alpine, quickest through Q2, 120.819. Seakley, second quickest, Tabo T92, the third quickest driver, all of the top three in the 1 minute 20 second. Smirch Django, is he sandbagging or is 121 the best that Smirch Django can do? Wow, P4 for Smirch Django. Meanwhile, King Rapture is the fifth quickest driver. Ban Kobe, sixth quickest. Mex went seventh quickest in Q2. And Gawako, aka D-Wax, who we just saw come back into the pits, went eighth quickest. Donovan Laka, ninth. And it seems Esbuda will be the final driver through to Q3 out here in Monza. If you've just joined us, you're in time for the third and final qualifying session out here at the Temple of Speed, Monza Speedway. Look at that, courtesy of some invalidations and a couple of mistakes. Ban Kobe ended up using 3 sets of tires in Q2. And Zotal and Seathley, who were top of the pops, using 2 sets each, as did Tabo T92. Mex also used 2, while the rest of the pack used just 1 set of soft compound tires. Q3 coming up next. In the comment section, the 3-time champion Seakley, well, playing it coy, playing it calm, playing it modestly. Seakley reckons I won't get pole today. Tindo agrees with that sentiment. Tindo reckons that Django will get pole. Oh, well, Espuda did not make it through. It's going to be 9 drivers in this battle for pole position. Tindo reckons we will see a time in the 1 minute 19 seconds. So according to Tindo, thus far, up until this point, we have had a fair amount of sandbagging taking place. Do you agree with Tindo? I know if this were Tier 2, this is the likes of the 86ers' favorite track. I do wonder how many of these drivers like racing around here. I know Zotal in simulating sessions and practice races looks very, very good and takes a very, aggressive stance. Who hit the... Oh, Ngawako D-Wax pretty much obliterating those track limits. He might have hit those barriers coming out of that first chicane. Anyway, Zotal is a man who enjoys himself around here. He looked pretty good in Q2. I do wonder if we will see him breaching that barrier and going into the 1 minute 19s. Will Seakley do that? Will Django do that? Oh man, oh man, oh man. Let me know what your predictions are for pole position. I want to hear P1, 2, and 3. Based on what you've seen so far, this man has, set things alight by some margin. So it's going to be very, very interesting, tantalizing to see what he can do in response to the likes of the champion, Seakley. As things stand, from Zotal's perspective, if you look further ahead, Seakley is currently weaving left and right, and Zotal slows down just to create a bit of a gap between himself and Seakley, who's currently running ahead of him. So we'll see how it fares from this point on. But, of course, one of the first people out on track is none other than Ngawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, who comes through the first chicane. He is currently running behind Ban Kobe, who opted to come out early and give it a proper go, a proper push pretty early. Let's see what Ngawako's Sector 1 split is going to be. 26.703 for Ngawako coming out through that chicane unscathed. Django's just going to make way for Ngawako to make sure that he does not... little bit of a moment for Ngawako. Let's see if he goes wide. Coming out of turn 7. You have to really watch and ease off the throttle there, and you can see the gap already between Ngawako and Ban Kobe, who seems to be carrying much more speed relatively. And Ngawako, aka D-Wax, has to watch out because behind him, it looks like Tabo T92 is absolutely pushing. He is right behind Ngawako. Oh, look at Ngawako. He's going to be surpassed by Tabo. Looks like Ngawako has given up on this, so we're going to catch up instead with Bankobi and Tabo T92, who will cross the line. Bankobi 121.020 sets the quickest time the first time thus far. Here comes Tabo T92 response. We've seen how fast he went through Q1. 120.195 for Tabo T92. What about Seakley? On the verge, it's going to be a 120.617 as his initial banker attempt. Meanwhile, Zotal crossed the line 120.536 to tuck right behind Tabo T92. Man, oh man, oh man, what a tantalizing battle we have in prospect. Ban Kobe, currently P4, courtesy of that. Malusi the Malusi says, hey, Seakley, stop it. Stop sandbagging. We want to see your true pace, Seakley. Come on.
I not to say sandbag. They want to, I'm in believe. Usihle uzotshela ukuthi bathele petrol eningi mara unamanga usihle unamanga ngathi angayithatha le pole position yabona makakhuluma kanje lo muntu uyahayi ningamnyathi usihle unamanga usihle sifuna ukubona hayi man ungabathetheli ephusha ndoda.
Let's see instead how Smirch Django is faring. Django went out later than most of the drivers that you have already seen. We're on board now with the would-be pretender to Seakley's crown, whose Sector 2 split is a 53.729, sensationally quick by the Mercedes driver as he now comes through Ascari unscathed, carrying so much speed relative to some of the efforts that we've seen today. Into Parapolica, who's that? Ban Kobe, get out the way! He does exactly that, and it's Gear 5 through the initial part of the Parapolica. The final curve, the final corner, as Django points that W13 straight to cross the line. P4, 121.008, behind his teammate even. So, well, Tabo T92, Zotal Seakley, Django. That is the order as things stand. The top three already back in the pits, as is Ban Kobe. Don Laka is giving it a push, a proper go. But ahead of Don, I must say, is the King Rapture, who is not on a push lap as things stand. The top and board is a Ferrari driver. Instead, Gear 5 seems to be the lowest that Don Laka went through Ascari, and it looks like he may yet be okay into and through the final corner, that being the Parabolica. Towards the line, it's Don Laka. It's P6, 121.410. And the McLaren of Mex is going to begin his initial push lap, so we'll see how he will fare. Ngawako, aka D-Wax, really struggling out here. He's back into the pits, and Django, having also given it a go, is following suit as well. What about Mex? What can he do? I hate ESCOM, says this Buddha in the comment section. Impacted, another driver impacted sadly by that load shedding situation. That's top on board now with the McLaren driver, who's given it another push, another go on a fresh set of soft compound tires. Oof, that car looked to be drifting through turn 6, and no such issues through 7. So he's looking very, very good. And as things stand, Temple Temba is going to be taking part in this race. Into Ascari comes the McLaren of Mex, has a Sector 2 split in the 54-second mark. So not quite as quick as the likes of Django, who we were watching a little bit earlier on, and even Seaclay and Zotal as far as that Sector 2 split. But what can he do through the third and final sector? How much speed can he carry through this final corner? A long one. The G-force is laterally carrying him a little bit wide, but he keeps it together. Down on towards the line, he improves 122.1, but it's only P7. Definitely has his work cut out for him, does Mex. He's now the last driver out on track. We've got just over 4 minutes of this session to go. Who will claim the top spot? Tabo T92, Zotal, Seaclay, the only drivers in this session to breach that barrier into the 1 minute 20s. Tabo T92 on the brink of going into the 119s. Will we see that in this session? Will we see that? Let's catch up with the comment section. Here comes Don Rabico saying in the comment section, Seaclay's not sandbagging. There's rain coming. If he's smart, he must be running a wet setup. And Malusi agrees with that. Teppo says, prelim info suggests that it's going to be a wet race. So those times make sense. Everybody is running wet setups. Seaclay says, not everyone. And Caboza says, nah, it's clear that this game doesn't want me to qualify. Now that I'm spectating, it's not kicking me out. Oh man, Caboza. Really sorry to hear that. I hope it could somehow be sorted and that we can see you giving it a proper push and a proper go before all things are concluded here. Mex back in the pits means Ngawako D-Wax is the only man out on track, and he's on the verge of beginning what presumably could be his own push lap. Don Rabico says, yeah, not everyone running wet setups, but they will be exposed in the rain. Tindo says, if the rain stops mid-race, well, they will be in trouble. Speaking about the drivers running those wet race setups, here comes Ngawako, aka D-Wax, giving it one final push down towards the chicane, second chicane. He improves on his time by 1.5 tenths, so it's decent as things stand, but a 1.5 tenths improvement is nowhere near good enough to challenge even the likes of Mex. Remember, Ngawako's best time is in the 1 minute 25s as he exits turn 7 and looks to point that AlphaTauri down through the tunnel towards Ascari with as much speed as possible. Ngawako has a top speed of 344 kilometers per hour before hitting the brakes. Into Ascari he comes. He's on the limit, on the cusp of those track limits, but he's absolutely sending it. Let's go, D-Wax. Being cheered on is Ngawako by Esmuda in the comment section. He has 1 minute 42 seconds to stake his claim among the best of the best in this top 10 shootout. Here he comes towards the line. Definitely improves by some margin. 121.0 puts him up to P6. Don Laka down to 7th. Then 8th is Mex, and King Rapture, who's on his outlap, is up to P9. Meanwhile, this man, Zotal, will be among the first to give it one final push, one final go. How will he do?
Sometimes imagine ukuspina, sometimes njengoba basho kuma-comment. Mara lo muntu uyayithanda iMonza, uyayithanda le track. Uzothala ngayithatha le pole position.
Well, perhaps he could. We're just going to have to wait and see if Zotal can do that, because he's got less than a minute to stake his claim here. It's last chance saloon for Zotal into the first chicane. He comes, takes it cleanly, and gets that exit out of Primera Variante, as they say in Italiano. Behind him is Tabo T92, currently on an outlap, interestingly. Tabo T92, I don't know if he's going to make it. Oh, it looks like Zotal's going slower by a tenth. Oh, and there's a huge spin to Zotal on his final push lap, trying to give it a go, trying to pip Tabo T92, but sorry, Zotal, it will not be a final attempt that will not come to be. He stays moored out on the sidelines of this track. Zotal is going to have to hope against all hope that he can get something decent done here, because he will take no further part in this session. Disbelieving and stuck on the sidelines was Zotal over there. And because he was disqualified for staying out on the sidelines, he disqualified himself. Zotal, after spinning out, just left that car on idle, and he got disqualified. Will now start from P9. It's a nightmare for Zotal, who's looking so good out here. Well, Secret will just be paying no attention to those shenanigans. He's going slightly slower by about 7/100ths of a second. His teammate, Secret, is right behind him, as is Mex. So let's see how he will fare towards Parabolica now. He knows that sectors 2 and 3, he needs to improve, especially on Sector 3 here. This is his last chance to move for Seclet to claim that pole position. The possible top spot from Tabo T92, who does not have the opportunity. And Seclet across the line. No, he does not improve. He stays P2. What about Mex? He crosses the line. He does not go even closer. Smurch Django goes even quicker than his teammate. It's P2 for the Mercedes driver. Bankobi nails P4 Asting Sand. And Gawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, will cross the line in P4. Look at that. Ngawako, aka D-Wax, is up to P4 at the end of a dramatic Q3 session where we saw spins and drivers not making it out the pits in time. But despite that, Tabo T92 is the quickest man out on track today with a 120.194. Smirch Django almost 4/10ths behind the Red Bull in P2. And C-Clay makes it in Mercedes 2-3. And Gawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, very beautiful quality from him. Ban Kobe will start P5. The King Rapture will start in 6th. Don Laka, 7th. Mex in 8th. Zotal, disqualified after that almighty spin, will start in P9. Man, oh man, oh man. Bankobi says Zotal was stuck on the curb. See why you must run your car high? Rabico says, man, Ray, I would have gotten pole. Don Rabico's scorching effort down in Tier 2 last night would definitely have nailed him a top spot here. Sensational talent is Don Rabico. So this wet race that these drivers were pretty much setting up for and gearing up for and preparing for is here. I do wonder if we'll see a set of full wet compound tires. It doesn't look like it's super light rain. And something else that I do wonder is if the weather will clear out between now and the end of the race. Wouldn't that be interesting to see that crossover point and see who blinks first? We saw in last night's race, Don Rabico gambled and he came into the pits quite early. The track was still, it was drying, but it wasn't fully dry when the likes of Don Rabico came into the pits. And of course, it couldn't have been easy going on those medium compound tires on that semi-wet surface. But they made it work because once the track started to dry out, well, he was well and truly ahead of the pack. So we'll see Teppo Temba. We will see, of course, the likes of Loveness, Mandla, Django, Seachley, Tabo T92. We know what Smirch Django was like as far as the race starts are concerned. And look out for Mex as well. And if Caboza was running here, we're not sure whether or not that's the case, but we know that he's also a menace at the start of races. So let's just keep an eye out because it could yet be a tasty and dramatic start to this race out here in Monza before that heavy braking zone into that first chicane and indeed turns 1 and 2. Could we see a coming together? Could we see a loss of wing? Oh, man, I can't wait. Tindo says, I feel sorry for Zotal. Caboza also responding to that huge win that Zotal had. Man Ray says, Rabico, you are faster. These denialists will find out soon. Man Ray says, I'm going to watch turn 1 with popcorn. I am ready, and I've got my drink ready as well. Look at that. Oh, 18 drivers. Welcome to Monza. And Lebo is here. Teppo Temba is here. Tsapiso is here. It's a wet race. Ah, man, I can't wait for a sprinkling, a dash of drama when things start here. Look at that. It's a full wet compound. A full wet tire race starts. So it might yet, depending on, of course, the weather conditions, we may yet have 27 laps, a full race in these wet tire conditions. Ha, ha, ha. Sanley, a.k.a. Selby Songo, says, well, turn 1 blue movie, it's going to be carnage, reckons Sanley. Of course, Sanley, a.k.a. Selby Songo, quite enjoys drama and carnage.
Mara Selby, njalo nje ufisa ukuthi la bantu bachayisane babhize basiphi. Enjoy that thing uSelby. Mara Selby kabuhlungu kanje. Ole ela have a little bit of image nje ucabanga Selby. Labantu baminyile labo abazothile nabo diworks. Just allow them Selby Songo.
Mr. Ibu, turn 1, says Tindo in the comment section. Well, we'll see whether or not the likes of Selby Songo, a.k.a. Stanley, will be correct in that it's going to be a carnage towards turn 1. Tabo T92, pole position, the first of the season thus far. What a beautiful day for Team Red Bull, and it could yet be a beautiful day for Tabo T92, who's had a really terrible time as far as the season is concerned. Remember, he could not take part in the first race in Baku, and he crashed out in Australia, added to that canceled race in Abu Dhabi. So Tabo T92, beautiful day for him, a golden opportunity for him to show his class, his pace, his mettle, his quality. A driver, of course, who has been on the racing wheel and is not afraid to really drive on the limits and show what he is made of as far as pace is concerned. Smirch Django, P2, qualifies ahead of his teammate. Oh, what a beautiful battle we have in prospects between those two. C-Clay, there's Ngawako had a huge spin there towards the end. So he's not going to get his car in the right possible spot. Ban Kobe was running a little bit behind the pack. King Rapture slots into place. It's a beautiful, beautiful full grid. Look how gorgeous it is when we have a full grid, and that is the case out here in Monza. It is the fourth race out here in Monaco. I just want to see as we wait for the lights to go out. It's the only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out. Caboza was too quick on the throttle. He gets a drive-through penalty for Jumpstart. Django overtakes the race leader going in that rush towards turn 1. C-Clay is overtaken Tabo T92. It's a Mercedes 1-2 coming into turn 1, and it's a clean entrance. Will there be a little bit of contact? No. Tabo T92 fighting for his life, breathing through the wound, but he's going to have to contend. He spins off. He's off track. He's in the grass, and he's surpassed by all of these drivers. Caboza gaining 7 places despite that drive-through penalty. He's now up to P5, and Gawako, aka Duax, not having the time of his life. It looks like Caboza's up to P4 because because Gawako has lost his placer. King Raptor having a beautiful race start, now chasing the two Mercedes cars in front of him. Chasing him is, of course, Caboza, now P4, and Gawako following closer behind. Josh, aka Damn Ninja, has to contend with Mex behind him. Don Laka not having such a great start. Seppo Temba versus Zotal, the two cars which are both open today. Oh, who spins? And Zotal has a huge spin in lap 1. He faces the wall. He's now going to be dead last before the end of lap 1, bringing out the yellow flag in sector 2. S. Buddha is now down 6 places. What about Malusi the Malusi? Oh, they're ghosting, they're spinning. It's contact, it's carnage all over. It's Selby Sango's wildest dreams come true. It's the kind of drama that Selby Sango dreams of. As he said in the comment section, Malusi the Malusi now fighting his way from the back of the pack. Currently P15 for the Williams driver who is commentating Alpine and Alpha Aston Martin rather today. Seppo Temba is fighting for his life as they battle here, a 4-way battle. Look at that. Everybody from Damn Ninja all the way down to Seppo Temba really struggling. Here they come now through the Parabolica. They're on the verge of beginning lap 3. Zotal is driving a Gouche, says Miguel over the comment section. Well, Zotal not having the time of his life here. Let's go on board with Seppo Temba on the outside of Mex. Mex, of course, will have the corner because he's slightly ahead here. Seppo Temba's just going to have to watch himself. Oh, Mex might have been going a little bit too wide there, but Seppo Temba struggling for grip on the exit of turn 2, but he keeps it together. No heavy spins for him. He's gained 8 places since this race has begun. Oh, it's drama over here. One of the big movers, Capoza, still has to serve his drive-through penalty, remember. Oh, man, he will absolutely be kicking himself for that huge mistake that he made at the start, considering how far up he has climbed up until now. Meanwhile, Seppo Temba managed to overcome Mex as they make their way now through turns 6 and 7. Lesmo 1 and 2. Seppo Temba keeps it together and points that car straight down towards the tunnel. No DRS, remember, in these rainy conditions. His next target is going to be Josh, aka Damnesia. What about the fight for the race lead? Oh, the two Mercedes cars are 4.5 seconds ahead of the P3 running King Rapture. Seaclay tucked right into the slipstream of his teammate. They dare not make a mistake. They dare not spin, lest they fall victim to the likes of Rapture, etc. behind them. Yellow flags behind these drivers. Someone had an issue coming out of Ascari. Zotal, Bankobius, Buddha making up the rear end of this grid. It's a packed house here in Monza. A beautifully full grid, but thankfully no DNFs as things stand. It's lap 3 of 27. Seaclay, late on the brakes there. He can smell the fumes coming out of his teammate's car. Smirch Django has a little bit of a twitch coming out of turn 2 that keeps it together. Zotal has crashed out. He retires in the session. He DNFs in lap 3 of 27. Zotal on one track where he usually has such a great time has struggled. And Zotal crashing out coming out of turn 7 brings out a safety car in lap 3 of 27 in Monza. Well, Loveness is going to be the first to take advantage of this safety car, and he comes out on a set of intermediate tires, interestingly. Bankobi had also done exactly that, opting now early doors to switch to a set of intermediate tires. Now, the pack is going to bunch up behind the safety car once again, and we'll get a sense. Oh, it looks like a virtual safety car. So, yeah, it's a virtual safety car, folks, not a full safety car. So what I thought was the safety car was actually Loveness coming into the pits. Virtual safety car, they have to slow down, no overtaking. They're at about 40% worth of race pace, but still, under that virtual safety car, you can save time in terms of pit stops. So the likes of Bankobi and Loveness taking advantage of the VSC, which has lasted a little bit of a while now. But Seaclay and Rapture are still the people to catch, and Loveness, and it looks like Seppo Temba getting a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Here comes Seaclay on the inside of his teammate. Seaclay into the first chicane. Oh, they make contact. They both go a little bit off track. Smirch Jangle went a little bit off to the left, and Seaclay almost lost it off to the right, but they keep it together. I do wonder if that coming together means King Rapture will inch a little bit of an advantage, but no, that gap is still 5 seconds between P2 and P3. Man, oh man, they're fighting hard. Are these two Mercedes drivers? Oh, Smirch Django has a snap coming out of that out of that chicane, and now into turn 6. Smirch Jangle looking to cure as much grip as possible. He's hunting, he's fishing for grip. Is Jangle. Seaclay seems to be the more comfortable of the two drivers, carrying a lot more speed into the entries of each corner. So still on those full wet tire compounds. Oh, Ban Kobe gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He might have lost the wing because that is Ban Kobe's second pit stop thus far. Jangle struggling coming out of Ascari there, and Seaclay is ice cold as far as keeping the pressure on his teammate is concerned. Lap 4 of 27. Seaclay is on a mission. There's no DRS. There is no reason for Seaclay to stay tucked into the slipstream of his teammate. He could possibly feel that he is the quicker driver, possibly looking to A, force Jangle into a mistake, or B, just to get a clean overtake done by virtue of pure pace, pure speed. Here comes Seaclay. He's going for it. He's going on the inside into turn 1. Jangle keeps the outside line and is going to have to hold on for tier 2. Oh no! Seaclay has moved over there. The queues coming together. They crash, they T-bone into each other. And Seaclay struggled coming out of the exit of the chicane, and Jangle went into his teammate there. It's a huge mistake by the champion. And, they're you coming together there, and they're now down by a factor of about 2 seconds. Well, little bit of some battling there between the two Mercedes drivers. Max is now up to P3 because King Raptor opted to come into the pits. P3 running McLaren driver is King Raptor. Josh, aka Damnesia, is now 4th from Ingawako, aka D-Wax. Let's get a sense of the gap between these drivers. About 1.5 seconds between Ingawako and Josh. Ingawako has a little bit of a snap there, meaning that this man, Don Laka, could possibly smell an overtaking opportunity. But Don can't be smiling too much because behind him and attacking him is none other than Enebo, who's going to go on the inside of the other Ferrari. Enebo will have the inside line, and Enebo is up to P6 before they get into Ascari. And Don Laka has to relinquish and bide his time because he has been overtaken coming through Ascari. Now, Tabo T92 had a nightmare race start and really struggled on these wet compound tires, but he's still running. He was in pole position, now down to P8. Jangle comes into the pits, meaning Seaclay is now in command of this race. P1 for Seaclay. I do wonder if Smirch Jangle might have taken some wing damage, but it seems like Jangle has opted to go on a set of intermediate compound tires. And here comes now Tabo T92 on the inside of Don Laka and gets that overtake done before they go into turn 1. Everybody is bunching up as it seems like the track is getting progressively slightly drier, but not, of course, nowhere near dry enough to put on those slick tires. Here comes Mambla. Romeo hunting down Don Laka, who is involved in that four-way battle between himself all the way up to Ingawako, aka D-Wax. Mandla breaks late and catches up with this four-way battle. Mandla, who made that huge mistake in qualifying, which cost him a spot in Q3. Let's see whether or not now he can take advantage and regain some sort of an advantage. Mandla, his season so far, bit of a mixed bag. Finished 9th in Baku, crashed out in Australia. He's in P7 now, he's in the points. He just needs to bring it home, does Mandla, whose teammate Damnesia is currently running P2. Because, of course, Josh and Seaclay have yet to come into the pit. So everybody from Jangle onwards, that being P9 onwards, has already pitted. For those intermediate tires, it's unclear whether or not Jangle took some damage, but he did opt for those intermediate tires. The race leader, Seaclay, finally comes into the pits. What will this mean? Oh, look at that. It's a huge rush into the pits. 5, 6 cars now into the pits following the race leader, meaning Tabo T92 carries on and hangs on to the race lead. King Rapture takes the fastest lap, and he will now be thankful for all of these guys coming into the pits. Jangle now into P2, having pitted earlier as Malusi the Malusi takes the fastest lap out on track, courtesy of that time penalty that he still has to serve. Despite that, he is still the quickest man on track. Is Malusi 5-second time penalty that he has to contend with, as does Ban Kobe. Sepultemba pips Malusi to take that quickest lap, He is running all the way down in P13. Mello is currently hunting down Mex, but from his perspective, oh, there goes Mex. He's just a blip on the horizon there, so nowhere near close enough. Has a little bit of a moment coming out of that chicane, and that might lose him some time in his chase versus Mex. So the field spreading out now, courtesy of all these pit stops. Let's catch up now with the battle between Kaboza and Donathan Laka, P11, P10 respectively. Kaboza carrying more speed through Lesmo 1. Into the second of the Lesmo corners comes Kaboza. He looks slightly more comfortable, but that back end of the McLaren almost losing it there, and Don Laka gets a cleaner exit down towards the tunnel into Ascari. Kaboza a little bit braver onto the brakes. He bridges that gap slightly, coming through Ascari. Oh, man. And it looks to be a clean one there. Smirch Jangle versus King Rapture. What was happening there? Looks like King Rapture might have had a little bit of an issue. And Tabo T92, rather, because he was in the lead. No, he came into the pits, did Tabo, and that is how Smirch Django got the lead of this race back. Now, Django has to keep it clean and keep it together. Try not to get sucked into any battles, Django. Keep it clean. He's now making his way through the second chicane of this track and into turns 6. He keeps it clean. Second turn in Lesmo, which is turn 7. No issues for Django. He's still keeping it clean, keeping it tight. Meanwhile, behind him, his teammate Seaclay is hunting down the King Raptor. The rookie King Raptor, rookie as far as Q1 is concerned. Look at Seaclay using all of that battery, and he's on the inside, coming into Ascari. Oh my word, what a possible overtake this would be. They're side by side, wheel-to-wheel contact, and King Raptor has to go a little bit off track, coming through Ascari, but Seaclay manages to steal that P2 spot from him. But as these two had battled, Django built up a almost 4-second advantage. So it's going to be a battle to the finish for the two Mercedes drivers. Django's going to be fighting for his life to keep Seaclay at bay between now and lap 27. It's lap 9 of 27. King Rapture is not going to go down without a fight. It's Thursday action night. Right here in towards the first chicane, on board with King Rapture. It's a fairly clean exit there, but look at that. His battery power down to about 22%. That is, of course, compared to Seaclay's 38%. So both drivers in their battle to catch up with Django and indeed keep each other at bay, using up so much of their battery power. Ooh, King Rapture and Seaclay each having a little bit of a moment as far as grip is concerned through that chicane. Rapture carries more speed through turn 6. Twitch has a twitch there on the exit. His turn 7 is a little bit cleaner, but he loses ground to Seaclay. That gap now hovering at the 8/10 mark, and we will watch them very carefully. Kaboza versus Don Laka. Once again, behind them, of course, is Tepo Temba, also within a second of the Kaboza himself. So let's see how these guys will fight. They're now through out of turn 7 cleanly. This is Kaboza's vantage point. Tepo Temba looking to keep in touch with the McLaren. Oh, Josh aka Damnesia has crashed out. Second driver to crash out, bringing out the yellow flags and bringing out the full safety car. The second driver to crash out here in Monza is Josh aka Damnesia, meaning everybody will be bunched up once again, and this time it's a full safety car out here in Monza. Now let's catch up with the race leaders to see what they will do. Seaclay leads the pack. Rather, Django leads the pack from Seaclay, who has, of course, slowed down under safety car. P2 for him. King Rapture is currently third under safety car conditions. Mex is currently in P4 as everybody looks to catch up and follow the safety car. Mello the Mello has that 5-second time penalty to contend with, so he's going to have the fight of his life on his hands. P5 for him. Tabo T92, 6th quickest as things stand. And Lebo currently 7th, and Gawako D-Wax running 8th. Don Laka, who's having that huge battle with Kapoza, currently 9th. Kapoza 10th. Seppo Temba, beg your pardon, currently 11th. Tsepiso, running in P12. Romeo, a.k.a. Mandla, outside the points, P13 for him. Ahead of him is Loveness, who has opted to come into the pits for a fresh set of intermediate compound tires. That was a huge gap between Loveness and Romeo. Or rather, Loveness is actually behind Romeo, I beg your pardon. And S. Buddha, the ghost of S. Buddha, currently running P15. And Ban Kobe is at the back. Oh, the pack! There's contact there between... Was that D-Wax? No, it's the... Was it Teppo Temba who just made contact there? I saw some wings flying. So we're going to have to watch closely here. Under safety car, going into the back of each other. Oh, man. That is really, really unfortunate. As everybody just looks to catch up. Teppo Temba. His wing seems to be intact. Could it have been Tsepiso, perhaps? No. Well, we're going to have to keep a close eye on them. Was it Ban Kobe? At the back of the pack, P16. Yes, it was Ban Kobe who lost his wing under safety car. Oh, man. Man. Ban Kobe, from bad to worse, because he's at the back of the pack. And now he's going to have to go all the way back into the pits. S. Buddha and Ban Kobe contact. I wish we could hear pit messages or team radio, says Man Ray in the comments. Oh, man. That's a terrible day for Ban Kobe. He's at the back of proceedings here in lap 10 of 27. Some of these drivers have already opted for a fresh set of tires here. As you can see, Loveness has already stopped twice. Ban Kobe 3 stops. And it may yet be 4 in these conditions. Oh, man. Terrible day for Ban Kobe. Might yet have been the lap, you know. Yeah. May yet have been lapped as things stand. But the story of the day is, once again, the two Mercedes, Django and C-Clay, collectively, they lead the constructor standings. So they are looking good. Ban Kobe into the pits for a 4th stop. Can you believe it? Lap 12, 4 pit stops. Terrible day for Ban Kobe. And we're just going to see whether or not... Tsepiso ignoring yellow flag. He gets a time penalty of his own. Man, Tsepiso. Nightmare scenario for him as well. He joins Malusi the Malusi on being saddled with that 5-second time penalty. C-Clay currently 2nd. King Rapture up to P3. Of course, he was one of the drivers to pit earlier. He opted to bite the bullet and come in early for his inters before most of the grid. Finds himself P3. Mex now up to P4. Malusi P5. What a result for him. Remember, he started at the back of the pack up to P5. Sadly, that time penalty might cost him dearly. Unless he could find himself building a huge gap from here on out. Ban Kobe gets a time penalty. Ban Kobe is on a set of medium compound tires. What the heck is going on? Ban Kobe rolling the dice here. Does Ban Kobe know something that we don't? Will the weather clear? It looks far too early for a set of slick tires. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. It does look like the track is drying, but it's nowhere near clear enough to be on slick tires. So if it is going to be a dry race towards the end, Van Colby is either rolling the most insane dice here, or he is going to have the struggle of his life for at least a couple of laps. And, well, if it's the wrong call here, we might see Van Colby crashing out, either losing his wing again or crashing out entirely as he weaves to the left and to the right, trying to get a semblance of tire temperature. But in these conditions, I mean, what kind of tire temperature can you get on those slick tires? Clay sends it coming out of the Parabolica. He catches them napping. Django sent it, I mean. Clay was caught napping because King Raptor was on the verge of a classic overtaker. But Clay fights back. Look at that gap. 6 seconds that Django has managed to catch them napping. That is an insane restart with the safety car coming back in. And now King Raptor is going to have to attack Clay coming into the chicane here. It's a clean exit for those two. Max, what about him? He's looking to stay in touch. The Aston Martin of Malusi the Malusi is there or thereabouts. Tabo T92 fighting for his life. And Neville is now up to P7. Composa P8. Don, if I'm not going, someone hits the wall. It might have been Ingalaco, aka D-Wax, who sent it straight into the wall. But he stays alive, perhaps. He might have broken his wing, but he somehow stays alive. He's in P11 is D-Wax Romeo. Now down to P12, Tapiso, P13, and Loveness, the ghost of Loveness, and Buddha running in P14 and 15 respectively. It was Loveness who hit the wall there in dramatic fashion. He's now down to P14, gonna have to come back into the pits once again. Meanwhile, Raptor versus C-Clay. C-Clay looks to be very, very comfortable. King Raptor, who was trying to overtake C-Clay, slowed the champion down. And look at that gap now, 6.7, soon to be 7 seconds if C-Clay is not careful here. So it is advantage Django in lap 13 of 27. The race restarts here in Monza have been nothing short of absolutely dramatic as we look to get the race as uneventful as possible between now and the end. Please, no more safety cars, as we saw in Abu Dhabi. Van Colby has retired from the session. He was on those medium compound tires. If you look on your track map, he crashed out coming out of Ascari. He lost his car there, and he retired from this session. Now Malusi the Malusi is hunting down Mex. That brings out the safety car once again. Van Colby bringing out a second safety car, and I will tell you, the man who will be very, very upset with that, considering his 6.5 second advantage, is Django. He had built up such an insane race restart advantage at the restart rather, and now he's going to have to fight for his life again because C-Clay is going to be on his neck by the time the safety car comes back in. This safety car is Loveness's saving grace, of course. He has opted to pit once again for that fresh wing and fresh set of intermediate compound tires. Oh, Mandla, medium compound tires without a wing. Now has to go all the way around. He's just exited the first chicane as Mandla. Nightmare day for Mandla, fighting for his life, breathing through the wound. Can he even get him to the points? Well, it's going to be tough for Mandla. Django from C-Clay, as far as the race lead is concerned. Raptor, P3. Mex is currently running in 4th. Malusi the Malusi was fighting Mex just before the safety car was called. P5 for him. Tabo T92, currently running 6th. And Levo, 7th place. Kaboza, 8th. Don Laka, 9th. Tepo Temba, 10th. And Gawako, a.k.a. D-Wax, P11 for him. Tapiso, currently 12th. As some of the leaders come into the pits. Well, will they gamble for slicks? The answer is yes. Mediums for the race leader, or the person who was the race leader. C-Clay plays it conservative. It's slick tires for the champion. Django blinks first and goes for those medium compound tires. Tepo Temba does exactly that. The track is drying, but it's nowhere near close enough to make it comfortable for those medium tire runners currently. But they've rolled the dice, have Django and Tepo Temba. I wonder how that will pan out for them. C-Clay, meanwhile, has played it conservatively. The champion opting to box for intermediates, for a fresh set of inters, as far as he's concerned. What will Mandla do? Well, he needs a wing change, and looks like he's serving a time penalty before they change his tires and change his wing. So it's going to be inter tires and a fresh wing for Mandla. Loveness enters a brand new set of intermediate tires, and yep, his wing had no issues there. So Mandla is at the back of the pack, and the ghost of S. Buddha is currently running P15. Now, with that set of pit stops, it means that the King Rapture in lap 15 of 27 is currently running in P1. Mex is second of the lot, P2. Mellow the Mellow up to P3. Podium place on those 10-lap-old intermediate tires. Tabo T92, 7-lap-old tires, P4. And Nebo is now up to P5. Kaboza, 6th, courtesy of those pit stops. Donathon Laka, 7th. Ingawako, 8th. Sapiso, 9th. Django, rolling the dice, is up to 10th. Tapotemba, 11th. Seaflay, 12th. And then we have Loveness and Mandla rounding things off. We will have one more, hopefully, revolution. Hopefully this is the last before the safety car calls it. Matt San Limazanti says, oh man, I got load shedding just as this race is getting more interesting. Same here, San Le, says Especta. Tindo says it's going to go dry when the car goes in. Yeah, look at how dry it's getting. Merc Paddock, says Man Ray. Can the likes of Rapture and Mex hang on here for a possible podium finish? Or is it pretty much advantage to the drivers that opted to pit early? Look at that. Seaflay came back into the pits and opted to follow his teammate. So Seaflay, looking at the condition of the track, he also figured, you know what? I don't want to risk it. I am going to follow your lead, Django, as far as coming into the pits, even though it's not completely dry yet. Man, we're still under a safety car for one more lap, and that prompts a whole slew of pit stops. Cabal T92, the latest, to go on to the medium. Ngawako, aka D-Wax, follows suit. Medium tires for him as well. Tapiso does exactly that. Oh, interestingly, he opts for those soft compound tires. But before they can do that, he fits a set. He serves a time penalty and then fits his set of soft compound tires. Well, will Tapiso have a little bit of an advantage? If the safety car comes in now, then we'll have about, 9 laps of racing? It might be too long, but considering that this track is still fairly cold, well, could this be a little bit of a masterstroke here? The tires won't, of course, there's no risk of overheating in these conditions, and considering that he's got the softest compound of tire in these crossover conditions, could he have just a tiny smidgen more grip than the medium tire runners before the track dries out completely? Well, he goes completely over the curves, so he's struggling a little bit, is Tapiso there. Let me know what you think of his roll of the dice as race control gives word that the safety car is in at the end of this lap. Cepiso playing catch up. He's only coming out of turn 7 now, making his way towards the rear of Ingawako, aka D-Wax. We'll see how he fares, but all eyes turn to the front. It's all eyes on King Rapture. Next, Malusi the Malusi, who opted not to pit. Neither did Enebo Kaboza and Donathan Laka.
Ay ngathi zokushubela laba ama-intermediate mayinga-drive fast riding ezizokushubela.
Yes, it could be Shubile for them. King Rapture, was he looking to catch them off guard? He hasn't sent it as yet, but Mex opts to come back into the pits. It's going to be Malusi the Malusi versus King Rapture. Mex and Kaboza make it a McLaren double stack into the pits. Meanwhile, King Rapture and Malusi the Malusi, he's not close enough to try and go for it into turn 1, so Rapture goes uncontested. And Neville and Don Laka make up P3 and 4. Remember, these guys have yet to pit, but they're going to be absolutely sending it, chasing each other. And this track, which hasn't dried out completely yet, means that Smirch Jango has fallen behind these guys by about 2.5 seconds as things stand. And it looks like Loveness is having a little bit of joy in his attempts to overtake the medium tire runners. So it's not yet optimum conditions, of course, for those slick tires as things stand. The track is still, of course, fairly wet. And here comes Loveness on the back of Seppo Temba, who rolled the dice for an early set of medium tire runners. But Loveness is here, and Loveness is getting this move done, possibly going into Ascari, but Seppo Temba has the inside line, and he just gives that position away. He did not fight it too hard. Don Laka is fighting versus Enlebo. Will he get this overtake done as they make their way now towards the Parabolica? These guys are ahead of Django by about 4 seconds. But look at the track. It's getting drier. It's getting drier. And they finally come in as the net lead of the race could be handed to this man, Smirch Django, who will zip past the drivers coming into the pits and will be behind King Rapture by about 7.7 seconds by the time he exits this chicane. So, Smirch Django, it could be a net lead of the race, assuming that the King Rapture will also be coming into the pits. Loveness is ahead of Seppo Temba, who himself has overtaken Sikle. Well, that was definitely something to be watching quite carefully. Seppo Temba, remember, also pitted at right about the same time that the champion did. So Sikle, who was aiming to catch up to his teammate, now has to overcome Seppo Temba, which will not be easy by any stretch of the imagination, as lap 19 will soon become a 20, and we will then go at racing for the final stint out here in Monza. Malusi the Malusi followed Cepiso's lead for a set of soft compound tires towards the end, and this track is well and truly dry. Those slick tires are going to work their way up into an optimum temperature, and they'll start singing. Here comes Sikle using his battery power. He tucks on the inside, and there goes side by side. It's wheel-to-wheel racing versus Seppo Temba, but he opts to tuck back into the slipstream of Seppo Temba, who today has commandeered the Alpine of Enebo. Here they come now through the Parabolica onto the main straight. Loveness relents and comes into the pits, speeding into the pit lane. He earns himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. We'll see go for it over here into the chicane. He thinks about it. They're side by side, but no. Sikle is nowhere near close enough to get that move done. Django versus Seppo Temba, that gap is now almost 2 seconds. It's going to be a beautiful sprint on slick tires towards the end of this race. Seppo Temba versus Sikle. Oh my gosh, it's a tasty battle in prospect that we have here in lap 20 of 27. Into the chicane they come towards the Lesmo corners. Django has eked out a 2-second advantage as Sikle, as Seppo Temba defends the Mercedes. that gives Django a little bit of breathing room to stretch his legs a little bit. Here, Tabo T92 for the win, says Tindo in the comment section. That'll be something considering that Tabo T92 is chasing Ciclay, but he's about a second and a half behind the Mercedes driver who thought about going on the inside towards Ascari here, but he wasn't close enough. So Ciclay keeps on thinking about it. He's huffing, he's puffing, but he cannot get rid of Seppo Temba. He cannot dispatch the Aston Martin driver, who today is in the colors of Alpine. On board with the champion now through the Parabolica they go. Seppo Temba looking to keep it careful. Seppo Temba trying to make his car as wide as possible as Django sets a quickest 126.203. Oh, bested by Temba T92 by some margin, 125. As here comes Ciclay on the inside into the first chicane, side by side, wheel to wheel. Seppo Temba's not giving it up. And Ciclay's gonna have to go on the outside line coming out of turn 2. And Seppo Temba still has the advantage as they exit turn 2. It's a sensational battle between the LP and the W13. And as these two fight, it brings that man, Tabo T92, into the reckoning. It's gonna be an insane finish towards the end of the straight. Mandla is the quickest man on track. Into the chicane comes the three-way battle of Ciclay, Tabo T92, and Seppo Temba. What a sturdy, beautiful, brilliant defense. Seppo Temba channeling Paolo Maldini, Franco Baresi, Virgil van Dijk-esque defense on the corners of Monza. Oh my gosh. Here we go now, on board, back again with the champion. It's a sensational battle. Down towards the tunnel they go. Ciclay, will he go for it now? In towards Ascari. He thought about it, but he's not close enough. Seppo Temba has sensational straight line speed, and Ciclay has no answer. He huffs, he puffs, he tries, he weaves to the left and to the right, but he cannot seem to get this move done. On board now with Tabo T92 we go. Red Bull driver looking to eke his way into the reckoning for this battle for P2. It's a sensational three-way fight. Into the Parabolica they go. Ciclay and Seppo Temba go a little bit wide, and on the inside goes Tabo T92. Does he have enough power? Does he have enough straight line speed? The answer might yet be yes. Going into the chicane, they're side by side, wheel to wheel into turn 1, but Ciclay is going to fight Seppo Temba T92 tooth and nail. It's a three-way battle into the chicane, and Ciclay gets a beautiful, sensational overtake done, and he finally can see Seppo Temba in his rear view mirrors. Ciclay did not blink under insane pressure from those two drivers. Tabo T92 among the quickest on track as things stand, and he is going to absolutely keep on fighting Seppo Temba. And as these three were fighting, remember, Smirch Django eked out a 3.5 second gap. So it's looking beautiful for Django thus far as things stand. There's another battle taking place between Malusi the Malusi and Capoza. Former mentor and mentee, if you will. Malusi the Malusi hunting down Capoza into the chicane. Soft compound tires, so he has a slight tire advantage at this point, does Malusi the Malusi. It's the softest, the grippiest, the fastest tire is the soft compound tire, but towards the end of this race, it may yet be advantage Capoza, who gets a clean exit out of turn 7, that being the second of the Lesno corners, and he has a sensational straight line speed, does the McLaren driver. Malusi the Malusi is nowhere near close enough to think about going for an overtake as things stand, but as it stands, of course, Ciclay sets the fastest lap at a 123.715. Malusi the Malusi might yet be thinking about finally getting this move done on that main straight after Parabolica. Capoza is, of course, tailing his own teammate, who is ahead by a factor of about 1.7 or so seconds. Oh, Capoza gets a cleaner, a beautiful exit out of the Parabolica now. And will Malusi have enough in the tank? DRS using his battery. He's going to tuck on the inside, going towards that chicane. They're side by side, wheel to wheel. Capoza, will he fight it? The answer is yes, but it's not enough to give Malusi too many headaches. Beautiful overtake by the Aston Martin driver, Tabo T92 versus Seppo Temba. We resume the battle. Remember, Tabo T92 used up so much of his battery power as Seppo Temba goes wide, coming out of turn 7. That'll give Tabo T92 a little bit of hope on top of the DRS advantage that he has. Look at that straight line speed, aided by those extra few kilometers per hour that he gets, courtesy of DRS being open. Tabo T92 did not have enough, as far as being close enough is concerned, to get that move done coming into Ascari. He's used up pretty much all of his battery, has Tabo T92. Seppo Temba, meanwhile, has been eking out and saving some of his battery. He's up to about almost 30% of his battery power. September fighting off Tabo T92. He's looking through his mirrors, is September. Here comes Tabo T92 side by side, and he gets that overtake done going into turn 1. And September will now have to use up his battery to give Tabo T92 a lot to think about. Ooh, September was not giving up without a fight, going wide there into turn 1 and 2. But now he is escaping there unscathed. It was a possible podium, but now he's going to have to fight for his life to possibly get that one done. What about the battle for the possible race lead? Django had an advantage over 3 seconds at some point as Loveness sets the fastest time of the day thus far. We have 3 laps of racing to go here. It is Mercedes versus Mercedes, C-Clay versus Smirch Django, the pretender to the throne versus the 3-time champion. Lap 24 of 27, how will it go this time around? We've seen C-Clay on the top step. We've seen Django on the top step, but none of these guys have claimed 2 race wins thus far. As things stand, it may yet be a second race win for the rookie Mercedes driver, but C-Clay being C-Clay, it's not going to be that clear cut. We're going to catch up with that battle as this race moves right on along. Capoza is hunting down Malusi the Malusi. He relinquished his position when he was overtaken a couple of laps ago. Oof, he did not have the cleanest experiences there through Ascari, but he manages to stay within a second of the Mercedes driver. Mandela has got a 3-second time penalty, even though he was already outside of the point. So it's Mex versus Malusi versus Capoza right now. The battle for P8. Mex is having a hard time. He weaves to the right. Does Mex trying to shake Malusi the Malusi and trying to break the slipstream. And Malusi, here he comes, advantage of DRS. He is on the inside line and he gets that overtake done. And now Mex has to fight his own teammate who gets a fairly clean exit. And he's also within half a second of the back of that McLaren. So it's Capoza versus Mex versus Malusi the Malusi with 2 laps of racing here to go. We'll see how the rest of this pans out. Don Lacka is hunting down the McLaren pair in P9 and 10 respectively. He is about 2.1 seconds behind that pack. Loveness is a further 4.7 seconds behind. Mandla at the back of the pack, 2.8 seconds behind Loveness. And Nebo makes up the back of proceedings. And of course we have the Ghost of Esbuda rounding things off here. Let's catch up now with the AlphaTauri pair for today of Ngawako versus Tapiso. Malusi the Malusi gets a 3-second time penalty for track limit. So sadly for him, his fight back into the points might yet be compromised further. Meanwhile, let's catch up with Ngawako. This is who we're being on board with. He's hunting down Tapiso, but he might not be close enough to get the move done into turn 1. And no, he is definitely not. But coming out of the chicane, he gets an absolutely beautiful exit, does Ngawako, and he can smell the fumes coming out of the back of that AlphaTauri. Tapiso breathing through the wound. Remember, Tapiso pitted so early, and his 9-lap-old soft compound tire is definitely screaming as Ngawako eases off the throttle there because he didn't think it was worth fighting going into that chicane. Ngawako biding his time, knowing that he could get this overtake done on the next set of straights that we get after the upcoming chicane. Here comes Tapiso, followed closely by D-Wax, half a second behind as they make that run down towards the tunnel. He will have DRS, will D-Wax, and he gets that move done cleanly coming out of the tunnel and into Ascari. Ngawako D-Wax is now up to P5. September was fighting Tabo T92 for that last podium spot, but has struggled to stay in touch. He's now 1.5 seconds behind the Red Bull, while C-Clay has managed to bridge that gap. He has eked it all the way down to 1.5 seconds as Smirch Django begins the final lap of the race out here in Italy, the Italian Grand Prix. Here at the Monza circuit, there's the yellow flag way down the order as Django gets a clean exit. C-Clay is huffing and puffing. He's really used up all of his battery as C-Clay. He's down to about 3%. Django is also flashing. He's on the brink. He's on 10% worth of his battery power. So it's a last lap battle here, and it's going to take C-Clay It's going to take Seatley using his DRS. That's what Seatley has been doing. He's used up his battery so that he can get his DRS and open up his rear wing on the last lap. It's last chance saloon for the Mercedes driver to get this overtake done. And Smirts Jangle was now under pressure coming into Ascari to get the cleanest entry and exit. He does do that, but that gap is now down to about half a second, and Seatley, being Seatley, will be hunting him down all the way down towards the line. Smirts Jangle, his heart is pounding through his chest. The rookie Mercedes driver looking to become the first of this team to claim 2 race wins of this season. Will he do it? Because Seatley will get the DRS going down towards the line. It won't be enough. Seatley gets the fastest lap, but Jangle wins the Italian Grand Prix. He crosses the line P1 in Monza to claim the Italian Grand Prix and becomes the second of the first driver to claim 2 race wins this season versus the 3-time champion. Tabo T92 is on the podium, P3 for the Red Bull driver. Seppo Temba, P4. Cepiso comes home in P5. What an effort for him, considering he started at the back. I want to hear who is your driver of the day. Remember this man, Cepiso, started at the back. P5 for him. Ngawako, P6. King Rapture came home in 7th. Kapoza, 8th. Malusi, 9th. A decent effort for him, considering he also started at the back. Don Laka, P10. And it looks like Max was in P11. Oh my word. What an insane race we have had. Tabo T92 running a drive setup, no wonder. That's why he's so fast. Say Manray and Tindo. Cepiso, says Crash. Django, is that your driver of the day? Who's your driver of the day? Let me know. Bungani, Debo Croc says crazy finish. Tabo T92, Seatley is fast, guys. WTF, Tabo T92. Some shouts for driver of the day there. Absolutely sensational race we have had out here. Look at that. So Don claimed the last of the points. Mandla came home in P12 and Neville 13th. Loveness in 14th. No points for them. I want to hear who's your driver of the day as we wait for these rain-soaked drivers to make their way into the commentary box here so that we can hear their thoughts. And indeed, the first driver to join us in the commentary box, having driven so insanely well, hunting down his teammate down towards the line. We were watching with bated breath to see if he could get it done, but he did claim the fastest lap. That's an extra point for the 3-time champion, Seatley. Congratulations, sir. Take us through that insane race.
Yeah, that was wacky races for real, dude. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, so many incidents, so many. Quali, I ran a very weird setup. I think I had the highest wings. I was shocked that I actually had the pace now here at the end. Excuse me. But yeah, it was a great race, nonetheless. Started P3, finished P2. Fastest lap. Good points for the team as well. I had another incident with my teammate.
Yeah, we saw that. I think you guys T-boned into each other pretty much coming out of that first chicane.
Yeah, I was attacking him so much because I wanted him to see that, hey, check, I'm running high wings. Can I please pass so I can open a bigger gap? Because I had more speed than him around corners. But yeah, I don't think he got the message. But I mean, yeah, still Merc 2. That's all I want.
Well, a Mercedes 1 and 2. Watching you guys is it's really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Also joining us on the podium, of course, is none other than a man who absolutely tore it up in qualifying. He is on the podium. It's been a tricky start to his season. On his debut season in the top tier, Tabo T92. Congratulations. How does that feel? Take us through quali, that pole position, and your racer.
Yeah, man. Good evening. Yeah, what an interesting race. Finally, it feels good. It kind of worked out for me. The first 3 races were terrible.
Yeah.
Well, ESCOM contributing to one of them. But yeah, man. yeah, I was very confident coming into this race. I've got good pace at this track, so I think today I drove with a bit of confidence, and it showed, I guess, in the qualifying. I took a bit of a gamble on my setup because I checked that the weather would dry up towards the end of the race. So I thought, you know what, dry setup, get up as high as possible in qualifying, manage the race early on in the wet, and attack right at the end. So yeah, that was the strategy. And yeah, unfortunately, I damaged my wing at some point. So I was driving with a damaged wing the whole race, but I guess still managed to make it work. I do think maybe without that, maybe could have gotten a bit closer to the front runners. But yeah, man, these two guys are rapid. It's
As
absolutely
are you,
ridiculous.
man. That was a beautiful, beautiful stuff. And that was going to be my question, actually, but you answered it. You rolled the dice as far as setup was concerned, but man, oh man, did it pay off? Podium finish in such a stacked tier one lineup. But of course, a huge round of applause. Once again, it's two rookies as far as tier one is concerned. So tier two, stand up. Look what is possible. It's Django in P1. What a breathtaking end to the race that you were hunted down mercilessly by your teammate. Just take us through that race and quali.
Thank you, Tyson, man. I think it's safe to say that, you can never be sure about what's gonna happen on the race because my setup was for wet conditions, and I had a little bit of a straight line speed, but Zitla was running more than me, and he was fast on the corners. And going into quali, I knew I was gonna be slow. I was not even worried about that. So my main focus was on the race, and to be quite honest, my setup was for intermediate um, intermediate conditions, and um, to my surprise, it was wet.
Yeah.
And me and my engineer, shout out to Don, shout out to Don Ravico, and we decided that it's fine. We're gonna use the same setup, and we tweaked a little bit during the race. When I was pitting, I had to put down my wings a little bit because of it was drying up. And I think also the incident I had with Site, and I just told him now, is that I didn't want to let him go because my tires was going to overheat, and he was going to just pull away from me, as you saw at the end what was happening. So it was crazy. It was crazy race, man.
Oh man, beautiful, beautiful stuff. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you guys do your thing throughout the rest of the season. And well, Don Rabico giving Django a little bit of a strategy note there. So yeah, it's looking quite hectic.
yabo Rabbi khona bajango bayasiterrorize thabo thina nje sizobenzani labantu nabo Rabbi bayeza yi angazi sizoyenzani.
Yes, it's quite hectic out here. But gentlemen, it's another brilliant representation of former Tier 2 drivers on the podium versus Z-Clay, the three-time champion. I know you guys are going to make it a beautiful championship race. Tabo T92, congratulations. I can't wait to see what you do towards the end of this race. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us in the commentary box. I'm just going to catch up with the last of the comments before we wrap up the stream. But congratulations, yes, to Tabo T92, C-Clay, and Django on the podium here today. A couple of shouts for Django for driver of the day and Tabo T92 for driver of the day. Selby Songo was saying, C-Clay sounds like Hamilton when his teammate gets the win. He says, I'm sure he's going to send it next in the next race. Speaking of the next race, C-Clay, just before you go, it's France. We've seen you have some classic races. A couple of seasons ago, you had that last lap battle with Mello the Mello. Just take us through your comfort levels around France, and then I'll ask the same of you, Django and Tabatina too.
It's gonna be close. That's all I'm saying. We all actually quite quick there at France. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I always say if I do race, I'll bring what I can, hopefully my best.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be hella close, especially quali. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Seems like I don't know. I seem to find quite a bit of pace towards the end of every Grand Prix. So yeah, I'll just use that to my advantage when I can.
Brilliant. And Tabo, your comfort levels around France?
I definitely say it is one of my stronger tracks. So I am looking forward to that, see what we can do. I think my big struggle this season has just been adapting to the traction off.
Yeah.
That's still something I'm trying to get to grips with. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I can only get quicker from here. I'm starting to find my rhythm. So yeah.
100%. 100%. And Django, France, thoughts?
I think it's gonna be very, very competitive, and I'd like to see what the guys have in store. And hopefully, it's one of the best whereby it's dry, and the times are not that the times are not that too far from each other. So yeah, looking forward to it, man.
As are we all. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We will see you in France. Remember that tiers 2 and 3 race on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. That's for tier 2 and 9 p.m. for tier 3 on Monday. So that's when we'll catch you guys back. The last of the comments says Django makes them seem like less is more. Also works just fine. Shout out to the Ricky, says Mex, I'm happy that this track is done. We need more Merc footage from that crash into turn 1. I agree with that, Selby Sanko. Crash says the CA, and C-Clay says, yeah, he's not a fan of Italy, responding to Mex. So thank you, everybody. What a beautiful, sensational race it was. We will see you all in France. Thank you, and good night.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.